What is up, my fellow schizotypals? Did you hear that noise? And welcome back to episode 19 of Highlight with Karhlyle Fletcher. Happy Wednesday. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not feeling exactly amazing, so it's gonna be a more low key episode today. And also something that this is off topic. This is just a random thing to get into before we get into the show. But so the idea of suburbs, I feel like, is very wrong for people. So first off, yeah. But I just have these because you see me on the screen all the fucking time. I spend all day, it's like I'm a professional writer too, so it's like all of my life is on the computer. So I know these look a little dorky maybe, but I need to take care of my eyes. So, but suburbs. So every city originally started as a core or like a downtown. There's like essentially the capital of the city, which is the most profitable or the most densely populated region of it. So the castle where the king would live. And from that core position, so for us in Detroit, you have Detroit, and then you have Cass Corridor, and then you have North End, and then that's like on Woodward, so that's going north through the city. Essentially, it's northwest, but essentially north. And then you have Southwest Detroit, and then you have Ferndale, and you have Dearborn, and you have like all these things, and like Indian Village and like Grosse Pointe, and you have these kinds of things, and then you have the exurbs. And what I think is important to highlight here is that every neighborhood that I've lived in is a suburb, and I live in Detroit. I have not moved out of Detroit ever since I moved here. But nobody can afford downtown. This is, we're not incredibly wealthy people. I've never been wealthy. I've spent my entire life in poverty. So I go to where I can afford, and where I can afford is inside cities, outside of the city center. So historically, suburbs, they're historical suburbs, but now they're part of the city. And the reason why I think this is important to think about is because it's not a divide between urban and suburban architecture. Suburban architecture is urban architecture. It just needs to develop into it because you can continue to put things on that neighborhood and let it grow and expand. But I would say the real issue is the eternal suburb. That's what I call them. But essentially the car-dependent suburb, which does not allow people to have access to life. It's like there's the housing, there's the businesses, there's all these zoning things that keep things separated, and they're also usually in inconvenient places that don't have a lot of connection with the places around them. So you have these unproductive, sparsely populated parts of the country and the parts of the world that they'll simply never be developed into. We're never going to need that much space. If you look at Detroit, we could easily develop into Ferndale. We could easily develop into Dearborn. We could easily develop into these, like Warren, Centerline, Southfield, East Point, all these cities, all these suburbs that are touching the city. They might as well be part of the city, and they do feel like an extension of the architecture because it has pretty much they were built at the same time. They have all these similar things, and they could easily be Detroit. Meanwhile, you go further out. You go further out to like Westland. You go to like Novi. There's no way that those places will ever become part of urban Detroit. They might be part of the metro, but they will never, ever become part of urban Detroit. And that's because they are eternal suburbs. They were built not to be farm. They were built not to be city. They were built to isolate people and to be these islands of just lawns in the middle of fucking nowhere. And when we're criticizing suburban living, when I criticize suburban living, I'm referring to that. I don't care if somebody lives in Ferndale. There's no issue with that. It's sustainable. It's locally, sourced. It keeps the economy going. And people always bitch about the suburbs. But also keep in mind that there are people who are floated by them. So there's people who live in Detroit that go out to the suburbs to make a very good living and then be able to afford living here. So it's there is a mutual benefit to those sorts of things. I think it's very silly, the idea of the tension or the war between those things, because we might as well be the same people. One day the suburbs will become the city. We just need to grow into them. But I just wanted to, this is an aside, that's just a short little thing that I wanted to bring up because I think it's, I don't really think people Think of it that way, you know? So when I criticize suburbs, not criticizing Ferndale, not criticizing any of the normal suburbs, not criticizing Oak Park, criticizing the thing that's not, criticizing the thing that might as well either be a farm or not there. You know, like those are leave nature alone, pretty much. Stop bullying nature and just let her have her fucking fields, you know? That's the problem with the exurbs. Anyways, let's get my fucking ugly face out of the way. Shouts out my boys at our fam at Decriminalize Michigan. So those are the guys. Those are the people who worked to get mushrooms decrimmed in Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor is a modest-sized city in southeast Michigan. So very important city. It's where the U of M is. And also, like, you know, we've covered some U of M grads earlier in the channel. So, but they do excellent work. Anyways, this is by the U of M. Here's the people. But so the abstract is that functional neurological disorders, which are sometimes referred to as psychogenic or psychogenic neurological disorders, or conversion disorder, are a common disability neuropsychiatric disorders with limited treatment options. FNDs can present with sensory and or motor symptoms, and though they may mimic other neurological conditions, they are thought to occur via mechanisms other than those related to identifiable structural neuropathology, and in many cases appear to be triggered and sustained by recognizable psychological factors. There is intriguing preliminary evidence that support the use of psychedelic assisted therapy in a growing number of psychiatric illnesses, including FNDs. We review the theoretical arguments for and against exploring psychedelic assisted therapy as a treatment. We also provide an in-depth discussion of prior published cases. Was this playing? It's saying it's playing music. Is it? Nothing's recording though. Oh, that's spooky. I hate that. Okay, so we're gonna do a ballsy here. We're gonna press play. Sorry, can't play this right now. Awesome. How do I get it to not? Okay, so that. Now I need you closed, and I need you to not play. Awesome. So yeah, let's get further into this. Hello? But just keep getting texts. It's just, yeah. Let's see, what's fun? What would be fun to get into? Sorry that I'm just so fucking burnt out today. Just a little bit disorganized. Yeah, whatever. So Grinspoon and Bacalar describe a psychedelic substance as one that, without causing physical addiction and or major physiological disturbances, produces thought, mood, and perceptual changes otherwise rarely experienced except in dreams, contemplative and religious exaltation, flashes of vivid involuntary memory, and acute psychosis. Talking about Hoffman. Oh! So that was another thing. What I really want to get into is the history of LSD, because that was like what allowed us to start studying neurotransmitters and things like that. So it's LSD is actually very fascinating because, you know, it's like so demonized and all those things. But it's like without LSD, we don't really have the chemical theory of pharmacology that as we have it right now. So early research showed that it was good for like mood studies and things like that. Sorry about today's episode, yo. This is just anyway. Let's go look up. Let's just look up fucking my boys. Let's just my head hurts fucking bad. That's just life. Wow, wow, that guy on Facebook looks fucking scummy. Fascinated by this. Decriminalize nature. So, this is the people I'm talking about. It's Decriminalize Nature, Michigan. So DNMI. Cool. What was it? What was this? When was this? When was this? When was this? Gimme. Well, it's just slow right now. The internet also has a headache. So I fuck with these people, obviously. I think they're very important in the state and in the country generally. So March 10th, we're pushing to deregulate psilocybin mushrooms and other psychedelic substances. So yeah, that might be coming up. That'll be fucking awesome. So they're planning a statewide movement to lift legal restrictions on psilocybin mushrooms and other naturally occurring entheogenic plants. Yeah, so let's get this fucking passed. Because yeah, they did the first city in Michigan in September 2020 to decrim. So yeah, that's why fucking yeah. That's so cool. And obviously, people who I think just deserve all of the all of the positive. I don't know what's going on with my head right now. I just feel so fucking sick. But I don't know. I've also been working on a house. We're like trying to repair someone else. You know, I do odd jobs around Detroit, and so just working with like asbestos and like all that shit. Like it's just I've been like it's fucking snot rocketing black things. So might be that. UC Berkeley, interesting. So U Center is a 1.25 million seed funding to study for the science of psychedelics. Never been a better time to start, baby. So, hello. I am recording. Hello, dogs. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna work.
Nemo, come here.
You can just leave him. Oh, he's going.
Nemo, come on.
Okay. All good. Well, that was the dogs. Oh no. Is he okay? Oh.
I'm leaving him. That was his head that just ran into the wall.
Oh my god, buddy. We gotta train people. Ancient healing. Oh no. But wow. What a day. What a day. Anyways, yeah. So, new Center for Psychedelic Science and Education. We're getting more research on that one. Might help migraines. Third most common illness in the world. 25% of people benefit from any sort of preventative treatment, and only 12% of those actually receive it. So 12 of 69 individuals participated. It was double-blinded, so neither recipient nor administrator knew if they were given the placebo or the psilocybin. 25% reduction in migraine days over the 2-week period. So that's a fourth of the time. Five subjects showed a 50% reduction, and 3 subjects showed a 75%. Only 2 showed a 25% reduction. The others showed no change. So a significant decrease. So, and there's more time having no migraine after dosing. So that's fucking cool. Yeah. That actually would make a lot of sense as a chronic migraine guy. I fucking love psychedelics because of that. Also, so I guess thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for taking the like slow day on highlight. Sorry we're not doing as many. Sorry that we're not doing as hard of a banger, but like you gotta understand, yesterday was fucking turbo dork turned up to 50. You know, that was I feel like I pulled a turbo dork muscle. But so something I'll say is about like sleep is that was the thing that I in charting like the course of my own illness and charting my own experience with you know, living and things of that manner. One thing that I noticed was that my habits do heavily predict my mental state. So, I mean, like, obviously, if you don't sleep for days, you're going to go crazy and have negative symptoms. But I'm not talking about that. What I mean is that, like, even on a small scale, where it's like, you know, if I can't sleep, where it's not like, you know, for me, insomnia, the experience that I've had is like laying in a black room in silence for like 5 to 6 hours and not falling asleep. You know, so it's like, it's just this, your body's just rotting there as you're not even really thinking, you're just awake. And I'll see that as like for me, I think it's like a terror response or whatever, just feeling comfortable as a child. But still, it's the experience of sleep deprivation, basically. And for what I've noticed is that if I can't get a regular sleep, if I don't sleep every day, then my mental health immediately starts getting different. So like one of the first things that I started doing as a teenager when I started taking my mental health seriously was that I made sure I got 9 hours of sleep a day. Or no, 8 hours of sleep a day. Because you get more, you're depressed, and if you get less, then you're going to not have as much, opportunity for your brain to just heal and all that. So, also Bugler, fucking great job lately. But, so in my own personal experience, I saw that, and also like my mom, she started to pick up on that too. Like when I was living with her, like 3 years ago, she would notice these things about me that I didn't really pick up on, like, you know, whereas like if I was starting to drift, it's like, are you eating? Are you sleeping? Like, what is your, you know, and it's just like this, like it's the holistic management of health, I think, is super under-discussed and understood. Because, you know, people are quick to point out, like, oh, you need to, you know, change your lifestyle or take these pills or maybe you need to join a yoga class and all that. You know, like they'll get on those little things, but they don't understand that it's like, well, what about having a more active lifestyle in general? What about getting them into gardening? What about teaching them, like, how to fold their clothes? What about all these things that just give people more agency in their life and allow them to be more useful and productive? Why not give everybody who's mentally ill a marketable skill? Because, like, for me, if it wasn't for writing, I'd be fucking dead. You know, it's like, monkey dances. That's my life. Because I don't really... It's funny because everybody says that I'm excellent at assimilating and fitting in with the culture. I've never, ever, 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 ever felt like that. I've never felt like I was a part of it. Everything has always felt alien. When I was younger, I used to literally think that aliens had abducted me and were performing experiments on me, and that I was the only person with empathy, and that everybody else was a machine that was meant to promote their like evolutionary, you know, stuff. So they just stepped on everybody, and like everybody was inherently self-interested and cruel. And so like that was my worldview. But then, you know, I don't know. Some nice people make you change the way you think, etc., etc. But the point being is that I found that through changing my lifestyle, I was able to completely change my relationship to mental health and my disorders. Because it's like, again, I'm not trying to not be traumatized. I'm not trying to not be somebody with difficult life experience, you know. I'm trying to be somebody who can live. And I am somebody who can live, so. I think it's much more important. I think it's much more important than the potential for a cure or stopping it or fixing it and things like that. So that's just where I wanted to go with that. Heavy topics, obviously, but yeah, because I mean, like, it really is as simple as like, I mean, like, so my family was very I feel like one of the stories is that my dad used to walk around with me as a kid. People would report him because they thought that he had stolen a child because we looked so different. I think it's just that sort of like, lack of ability to interact with humans and things like that. So it's like neither of my parents had friends, and neither of them were tight with their family, and neither of them really were social people. So I didn't really have the experience of seeing family friends, of seeing a happy relationship, of seeing a family that functioned, of seeing, anything. So, like, for me, like, a big issue with, like, why I'm awkward is I literally don't have the experience of knowing how to react to normal relationships. And I think that it's, like, what I need is an example of how to. I need to know what the fucking aunt is. I've never really had one. I don't really know what an uncle is. I don't really know what a dad is. I don't understand these relationships. And that's where it gets hard to relate to people. It gets hard to express things because they're talking about things I don't have an experience with. And yeah, that's skizzy. That's schizotypal-ish. Like, that's what would make you become that sort of person. But, like, also, it's just fucking life experience. Like, it's like I'm just literally... It's not that I'm eccentric as much as my life is eccentric. It forms you into something, So, but that's our wrap up on that. The nose. So let's go through this. So I think we were at the advertising. Who sees the advertisements here? Karhlyle shouted. Ah, good morning. Good morning, replied the gray-haired clerk, raising his eyes for 1 second, then looking down the little piles of money spread out on the table. I want to publish an advertisement. Just one moment, if you don't mind, the clerk answered, as he wrote down a figure with one hand and moved 2 beads on his abacus with the other. A footman who, judging by his gold-braided livery and generally very smart appearance, obviously worked in some noble's house, was standing by the table holding a piece of paper just to show he could hobnob with high and low, started rattling away. Believe me, that nasty dog just isn't worth 80 kopecks. Fuck me, I need to take care of my nose. Sorry, but we're breaking the fourth wall all fucking over today. You're getting the same experience as if you were actually in my room. This is like this is the least professional episode we fucking did. So I'm gonna go back to my book because I like my book. Believe me, sir, the pup isn't worth 80 kopecks. I mean, I wouldn't give 8 for it, but the Countess loves it. By God, she loves it. And so whoever finds it gets 100 rubles. To put it proper, between you and me, people's tastes don't correspond at all. If you're a hunter, keep a pointer or a poodle. It'll cost you 500, 1,000, but you'll have yourself a fine dog. The worthy clerk listened to this with a significant air and at the same time made an estimate of the number of letters in the notice. Around them stood a host of old women, shop clerks, and porters holding notice. One announced that a coachman of sober disposition was available for hire. Another concerned a little-used carriage brought from Paris in 1814. Elsewhere, a 19-year-old serf girl was released, a good laundress, and also fit for other work. A sturdy droshky lacking one spring, a hot young dappled gray horse, 17 years old, turnip and radish seeds newly received from London, a counting house with all its opportunances, 2 horse stalls, and a place where an excellent birch or pine grove could be planted. Next to that was an appeal to all those desiring to buy old shoes, with an invitation to come to the trading center every day from 8 till 3. The room into which all this company crowded was small and the air in it was very heavy, but the ecclesiate assessor Kovalyov could not smell it because he had covered his face with a handkerchief and because his nose itself was in God knows what parts. My dear sir, allow me to ask. It's very necessary, he said he said firmly with impatience. Right away. 2 rubles 43 kopecks. This minute. 1 ruble 64 kopecks, the gray-haired gentleman was saying as he flung the notices in the old woman's and porter's faces. What can I do for you? He said at last, turning to Kovalev. I ask, said Kovalev. Some swindling or knavery has occurred. I haven't been able to find out. I only ask you to advertise that whoever brings a scoundrel to me will get a sufficient reward. What is your name, may I ask you? No, why the name? I can't tell you. I have many acquaintances Chektor Vera, Paglia Grigorievna Potochina, wife of a staff officer. God forbid they should suddenly find out. You can't simply write college assessor, or better still, one holding the rank of a major. And the runaway was your household serf? What household serf? That would be no great swindle. No, the one that ran away was my nose. What a strange name. And did this Mr. Nosov steal a large sum of money from you? Nose, I said, you've got it wrong. My own nose, disappeared on me. I don't know where. The devils decided to make fun of me. Disappeared in what fashion? I'm afraid I don't quite understand. I really can't say in what fashion, but the main thing is that he's now driving around calling himself a state counselor, and therefore I ask you to announce that whoever catches him, immediately present him to me within the shortest time. Consider for yourself, how indeed can I do without such a conspicuous part of the body? It's not like some little toe that I can put in a boot and no one will see it's not there. On Thursday, I call on the wife of the state counselor, Cogitavi, Pelagia Grinovievna Potochina, a state's officer wife, and she has a very pretty daughter. They, too, are my very good acquaintances, and consider yourself for now. I can't go to them now. The clerk fell to pondering, as was indicated by his tightly compressed lips. No, I can't place such an announcement in the paper, he said finally after a long silence. What? Why not? Because the newspaper may lose its reputation. If everybody starts writing that his nose run away, people will say we publish absurdities and false rumors as it is. People say we publish a lot of absurdities and false rumors as it is. What's absurd about this matter? It seems to me that it's nothing of the sort. To you it seems so, but there was a similar incident last week. A clerk came, just as you know, brought a notice. It came to 2 rubles 73 kopecks in cost. Then the whole announcement was that a poodle of a black coat had run away. Nothing much there, you'd think, but it turned out to be a lampoon. The poodle was the treasurer of I forgot which institution. But I'm giving you an announcement not about a poodle, not about my own nose, which means about me myself. No, I absolutely cannot place such an announcement. But my nose has really vanished. If so, it's a medical matter. They say that there are people who can attach any nose you'd like. I observe, however, that you must be a man of merry dispositions and very fond of joking in company. I swear to you, as God is holy. Very well, if it's come to that, I'll show you. Why trouble yourself, the clerk went on, taking a punch of snuff. However, if it's no trouble, he added with a moment of curiosity, it might be desirable to have a look. The clergy assessor took the handkerchief from his face. Extremely strange indeed, said the clerk. The place is perfectly smooth, like a just-made pancake, yet of unbelievable flatness. Well, you're going to argue now? You can see for yourself that you've got to print it. I'll be especially grateful to you, and I'm glad that this instance has afforded me the pleasure of making your acquaintance. The major, as may be seen from that, had decided to fawn a bit this time. Of course, printing it is no great matter, said the clerk, only I don't see any profit in it for you. If you really want, you should give it someone with a skillful pen who can describe it as a rare work of nature and publish this little article in the Northern Bee. Here he took another pinch of snuff. So snuff's like tobacco cocaine. It's tobacco you'd take like cocaine. For the benefit of the young. Here he wiped his nose. Or just for the general curiosity. The collegiate assessor was totally discouraged. He dropped his eyes to the bottom of the newspaper, where theater performances were announced. His face was getting ready to smile, seeing the name of the pretty actress, and his hand went to his pocket to see if he had a blue banknote on him, because staff officers, in Karhlyl's opinion, ought to sit at the orchestra. Oh my fucking god. Ought to sit at the orchestra, but the thought of the nose ruined everything. The clerk seemed himself to be moved by Karhlyl's difficult situation. Wishing to soften his grief somehow, he deemed it fitting to express his sympathy in a few words. I'm truly sorry that such an odd thing has happened to you. Would you care for a pinch? It dispels headaches and melancholic state of minds, and it's even good with regard to hemorrhoids. What? It's tobacco. So saying, the clerk held the snuff box out to Karhlyl, quite deftly flipping back the lid with the portrait of some lady in a hat. This unintentional act brought Karhlyl's patience to an end. I do not understand how you find it possible to joke, he said in passion. Can you not see that I precisely lack what's needed for a pinch of snuff? Devil take your snuff. I cannot stand the sight of it now, not only your vile Berinsky, but even if you were to offer me a rappee itself. Having said this, he left the newspaper office in a deep vexation and went to see the police commissioner, a great lover of sugar. In his house, the entire front room, which was also the dining room, was filled with sugar loaves that the merchant brought out of his friendship. Just then, the cook was removing the commissioner's regulation boots. His sword and other military armor were already hanging peacefully in the corners, and his 3-year-old son was playing with his awesome 3-cornered hat, and he himself, after his marital military life, was preparing to taste the pleasures of peace. Karhlyle entered just as he stretched, grunted, and said, no, nice time for a nice 2-hour nap. And therefore it could be seen that the collegiate assessor's arrival was quite untimely, and I do not know whether he would have been received all that cordially, even if he had brought him several pounds of sugar or a length of broadcloth. The commissioner was a great patron of all the arts and manufactures, but preferred state banknotes to them all. Here's the thing, he used to say. There's nothing better than this thing. Doesn't ask to eat, takes up little space, and can always be put in the pocket. Drop it and it won't break. I mean, yeah. The commissioner received Kovalev rather dryly and said that after dinner was no time for carrying out investigations, and that nature itself had so arranged it that that nature itself had so arranged it so that after eating one should have a little rest. From this, the collegiate assessor could see that the police commissioner was not unacquainted with the sayings of the ancient wise men, and that a respectable man would not have nose torn off, and that there were many majors in the world whose underclothes were not even in decent condition, and who dragged themselves all around to all sorts of improper places. That is a square hit right between the eyes. It must be noted that Kovalev was an extremely touchy man. He could forgive anything said about himself, but he could never pardon a reference to his rank or title. He even thought that in theatrical plays, everything referring to inferior officers could pass, but staff officers should never be attacked. The commissioner's reception so perplexed him that he shook his head and said with dignity, spreading his arms slightly, "I confess, after such offensive remarks on your part, I have nothing to add," and left. He returned home, scarcely feeling his legs under him. "Aw, did it fall off?" "Yeah, looks like it. Yep, a little bit of the book fell off." Returned home, scarcely feeling his legs under him. It was already dark. Dismal or extremely vile, his apartment seemed to him after this whole unsuccessful search. Going into the front room, he saw his lackey Ivan lying on his back, and the soiled leather sofa, spinning at the ceiling and hitting in the same spot quite successfully. The man's indifference infuriated him. Gave him a whack on the forehead with his hat, adding, "You pig, you're always busy with stupidities." Ivan suddenly jumped up from his place and rushed to help him off with his cape. Going into his bedroom, the major, weary and woeful, threw himself into an armchair, finally, after several sighs, and said, my God, why this misfortune? If I liked an arm or a leg, it would still be better. If I liked ears, it would be bad, but still more bearable. But lacking a nose, a man is a devil knows what. Not a bird, not a citizen. Just take him and chuck him out the window. And if it had been cut off in a war or duel, or if I had caused it myself, but it vanished for no reason, vanished for nothing at all. Only no, it can't be, he added, after reflecting briefly. It's incredible that a nose should vanish. Simply incredible. I must be dreaming or just imagining it, maybe by mistake somehow. Instead of water, I drank the vodka that I used to pat my chin after shaving. That fool Ivan didn't take it away. I must have downed it. To make absolutely sure that he was not drunk, the major pinched himself so painfully that he cried out. This pain completely reassured him that he was acting and living in a waking state. He slowly approached the mirror and at first closed his eyes, thinking that the nose might somehow show up where it ought to be. But he jumped back at the same moment, saying, "What a lampoonish look!" This was indeed incomprehensible. If it had been a button, a silver spoon, a watch, or something of that sort, that had vanished. But to vanish, and who was it that vanished? And what's more, in his own apartment? Major Kovalev, having put all the circumstances together, supposed it would be hardly unlikely if the blame were placed on none other than Podchina, the staff officer's wife, who wished him to marry her daughter. He himself enjoyed dallying with her, but kept avoiding a final settlement. And when the mother announced to him directly that she wanted to give him the girl's hand, he quietly eased off with his compliments, saying that he was still young and had to serve some 5 years more until he turned exactly 42. And therefore the staff officer's wife, probably in revenge, decided to put a spell on him, and to that end hired some sorceress, because it was by no means possible to suppose that the nose had been cut off. No one had come into his room, and the barber Ivan Yakovlevich had shaved him on Wednesday, and the nose had been there for the whole of Wednesday and even all Thursday. He remembered that and knew it very well. Besides, he would not have felt the pain. The wound undoubtedly could not have healed so quickly and become smooth as a pancake. He made plans in his head, to formally summon the staff officer's wife to court, or to go to her in person and expose her. His reflections were interrupted by the light flickering through all the chinks in the door, signifying that Ivan had already lighted a candle in the front room. Soon Ivan appeared himself, carrying it before him and bringing light and brightly lighting up the whole bedroom. Kovalev's first instinct was to grab the handkerchief and cover the place where his nose had been just the day before, so that the stupid man would actually not start gaping, seeing such an oddity in his master. Ivan had just gone back to his closet when an unfamiliar voice came from the front room saying, "Does the collegiate assessor Kovalev live here?" Come in. Major Kovalev is here, said Kovalev, hastily jumping up and opening a door. In came a police officer of handsome appearance, with quite plump cheeks and side whiskers neither light nor dark. The same one who, at the beginning of this tale, was standing at the end of St. Isaac's Bridge. Did Your Honor lose his nose? Right. It has now been found. What's that you say? Cried Major Kovalev. Joy robbed him of speech. He stared with both eyes at the policeman standing before him, over whose plump lips and cheeks the tremulous candle light flickered brightly. How did it happen? By strange chance. He was intercepted almost on the road. He was getting into a stagecoach to go to Riga, and he had a passport long since filled out in the name of some official. The strange thing is I first mistook him for a gentleman, but fortunately I was wearing my spectacles, and I saw at once that he was a nose. For I'm nearsighted, and if you're standing right in front of me, I'll only see that you have a face, but won't notice any nose or beard. My mother-in-law, that is my wife's mother, can't see anything either. Kovalev was beside himself. Where is it? Where? I'll run there at once. Don't trouble yourself. Knowing you had need of him, I brought him with me. And it's strange that the chief participant in this affair is that crook of a barber on Voznesenska Street, who is now sitting in the police station. I've long suspected him of being a drunkard and a thief, and only 2 days ago he pilfered a cart of buttons from the stop. Your nose is exactly as it was. Here the policeman went in his pocket and took off a nose wrapped in a piece of paper. That's it, cried Kovalev. That's it, all right. Kindly take up a cup of tea with me. I'd consider it a great pleasure, but I really can't. I must go to the House of Correction. The price of all products have gone up so expensively. I got my mother-in-law, that is my wife's mother, living with me, and the children, for the oldest in particular, we have great hopes. He's a very clever lad, but there's no means at all for his education. Kovalev understood, and snatching a red banknote from the table, put it into the hand of the officer, who bowed and scraped his way out. And almost at the same moment, Kovalev heard his voice in the street, where he delivered an admonition into the mug of a stupid muzhik who had driven his cart right onto the boulevard. Onto the policeman's departure, the collegiate assessor remained in some vague stage for a few minutes, and only after several minutes acquired the ability to see and feel. Such obliviousness came over him on account of such unexpected joy. He carefully took the found nose in his two cupped hands and once again studied it attentively. So what a crazy fucking story, first off. But what I wanted to highlight, something I think is interesting, and I'm going to be developing this next, because I have a tetralogy, Portrait of the Rat, Death of the American Novelist, and then The Cave, and that's kind of like a 1, 2, 3 on American feeling, where it's like how to make friends, what it's like to be an individual, and then like what is the environment in which we inherited. But after these books, I'm still editing them, but 2 of them are released. I still want to edit fucking Death of the American. I work on things until I die. But my point is just that I wanted to bring up that I think there's a sort of chaos and there's sort of energy to specifically the classic urban novel, because the classic urban novel has that city structure. They have those that infrastructure that allows you to have this sort of natural things where you can just walk out of your house and go to the other side of town and get something done. I think that when you're looking at the 20th century with the invention of the car, in every single story, you now have dead time. You have dead space. Where it's so weird being a young person starting to learn how to write fiction. I've always gone to apocalyptic or a pseudo history thing where it's like, I try to avoid cars and smartphones. And I didn't really understand that until now. It's like, because it's a more natural story. The natural story is walking around and living with your community. The unnatural story is taking a 2-hour car ride to go get some pussy. That's not an inherently interesting story. What are you going to do? You're going to get pulled over? What, are you going to go to Tim Hortons? There's just not something inherently engaging with that. Where it's like, yeah, sure, it might be fun to drive because you're like, whoa, I'm in the fucking lanes. So fucking interesting. But as a novelist, as a storyteller, I don't really give a fuck. You're not going to do much in the car. You're going to get from point A to point B. You might fuck in the car, you might eat in the car, but there's not it doesn't breathe. Cities breathe. Neighborhoods breathe. So it's like, for me, I think that the next thing I want to write I want to set it in a streetcar suburb because it's like you want to get used to the rhythm of the story where it's like you have a character that's in the streetcar suburb, right? And so like their life depends on the streetcar going in and out of that. And through that you can see like, you know, the business and like what brings everybody together to make money, and then the filtering out of that where it's like now there's these different societies that are like, you know, this is like a more out of town but still like, you know, it's like right next to downtown, but it's a place that you would go to get drunk and hang out. It's more residential, but it's not, you know, it's not empty. It's just a little bit more local noise than business noise. And then you get to like the home, and like the home is like the sort of like, you know, sleepy thing of like, you know, like marital drama and like schools and things like that. And I think that like writing stories like that and just like really focusing on that structure, that urban planning, could be a really pregnant theme to get into. And I said I'd finish this, but I'm not going to because I have 8 pages left and we're at the 40-minute mark. And I want to wrap up today relatively on time. I just want to, you know, because we went fucking crazy yesterday, so I'm going to do another Brady album. I'm putting my boy up. This is Misguided, Cogitavi, Koji, love him. Yeah, just check it out too. So, this is 3rd row. Let's just bump. Yeah, welcome to my Minecraft world. The AC is on in the back too, so it'll be super annoying. It's gonna be awful audio. But this is my little urban area I'm working on. Anyways, I just want to check in. Yeah, this is my Minecraft world. Actually, I really think this is cool. I really like this because you have two different biomes, like the rain and the snow together. I think that's pretty fucking cool. I am a turbo dork. Don't worry. That's my city. Stonebrick Rock. So, thanks for tuning in to this episode of High Lit. This is Brady's Music. Please go support him and just listen to him. It's a pretty trippy psych shit. I've always loved it. I can't support this guy more. Also, that was the tour of Stonebrick Rock, which is my Minecraft city. So might include that more in the show. We'll see. But anyways, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back on Friday. And thanks for watching High Lit. Yep. See ya.